before, you'd be like, this dude's having fun. You have to permit that in your life again. Fun, presence, joy. My job today will be, how do we take the context we're in, where it's been so difficult, and help you find your next connection or next level of confidence. Along the way, though, I'll be helping you figure out, well, that same thing that will give you confidence, which is how you speak to yourself, along the way, I'll help you reveal how should you be speaking with your potential clients, customers, downline, the people you support on your teams. How? Because who's noticed it's difficult to talk to people about anything right now? You know, it used to be, it was difficult to prospect. Now it's just difficult to communicate with anybody because everybody's just such this mindset. Who's anyone around negative people or pessimistic people on a consistent basis? If you're around that, it can poison not only your confidence, but it also infiltrates your brain and how you talk to other people. Your next level of earning in anything you do in your life will come from your confidence and your communication strategies. Your next level of earning from your confidence and your communication strategies. And what I always tell people, they're hand in hand. You know, they're like this. They really connect. They really connect. And so today what I'd like to do, if you were at Summit and you were in that leadership room, I talked a little bit about the different phases society and culture has been through. And one of the number one things you guys hit me back with on this email announcing this event for you was like, could you talk a little bit more about that? I think I get it, but maybe not. And I'd like to use it as just a framework to help you realize maybe where you went mentally in these last couple of months and where you need to be mentally in the next couple of years. Same time, simultaneously, how do we communicate really well so that it's you communicating. It's you. And secondarily, how do you make the most impact with people, especially when they're doubtful about you, your opportunity, themselves, your company, your compensation plan, who your other team is, who else is in town, does the shake work, does this go? You know, you have all these questions they're going to ask you. And there's a way to communicate that will build your team and your sales. Who's pumped for today, ladies and gentlemen? Are you excited? I actually see you, Sherry and Leanne. I actually see you, Anne. I see you, Jessica and Joy. I see you, Dana. This is real. We're going to do the work today. We're going to do the work today. So I'd love for you to grab a journal, grab some notes, get some pumped energy about this. Because you know what? Don't cheat yourself of good energy when you're learning. Close down the other tabs. I'll wait. Because you got to close down all 20 other tabs and get engaged. This is your future. This is how you feel about yourself. This is how you earn more. And this isn't a casual thing. For those who don't know my background, I've been doing this for 20 years. Actually, this is my 21st year working with leaders and high performers. My first book called The Student Leadership Guide, a book on leadership, came out 21 years ago. I've worked with leaders every single day since. Every single day. It was my first corporate job, was leadership development and change management for Accenture. We had like 80,000 employees in that company. Then I left that, and many of you know I started writing my own books. And my dream was to be a writer and a coach and a teacher. And I didn't know how to do that. I didn't have the qualifications for that. I was definitely not the smartest person in the room. Still am not. I was definitely scared because I left something that was comfortable, like a job, and started something that was entrepreneurial, like many of you have, right? And this is, for many of you, just like it was for me, a significant moment of transition. The success you just had to get in this room with me, for what Beachbody's paying me to be here, says, take this seriously. This is a huge gift and a huge moment and a moment of transition for you, because if you had this success, imagine Imagine when you 2x that, 3x that, 5x that, 10x that. Now who's excited? Like imagine just the momentum you've got in the last couple weeks or months when that becomes more than just like one-off transactions or one-off things, and it becomes a movement that you are beginning in your life. A new phase of extraordinary performance, a new phase of leadership, a new phase of how you feel this time. Because you shouldn't feel how you felt when you were in high school. You shouldn't feel how you felt when he broke up with you. You shouldn't feel how you felt when they hurt your feelings. You shouldn't feel how you... No. You get to take control of your attitude and your emotions again today at a significant level, and we're going to contextualize that. So who's excited to be here today, ladies and gentlemen? Joy's excited. I see ya. Heather's excited. Brenda's excited. Hillary's excited. Let's do some work. Now, I'm going to walk you through where I believe these last couple years have put us mentally. And I want you to wear two hats here today. I want to be really explicit about this. You're going to wear two roles today. One is for you. That's where we're going to talk about confidence. The other is how you talk to your teams and prospects. That's going to be about your sales and your team leadership. And this is going to be really vital for you to hit because most people right now, they can't understand, why can't I sell more? I'm like, oh, it's not the product. The product's amazing, right? Oh, it's not the company. The company's amazing. Oh, it's not your fellow friends here. Your teams are amazing. What's usually off is what you're saying. You're in the wrong context, and you don't know it, and it's stealing the call to action in which people would, join you or buy from you. So we're going to work through that. Okay, so I'm going to come over to the board here, and we're going to talk about 3 different phases. Can we light this board up for me? Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. They're like, just tap it, dude. Okay. This is a little fancier than where I'm from. I remember my old flip charts. That's all I ever had. Okay, here we go. We're going to talk about 3 big phases that we've all been through. And as I walk through these, I want you to take tons of notes. Tons and tons and tons of notes as we go through here, okay? So our first, let's just call it phase of where we have been in dealing with crisis and change, like the difficulties we've gone through. Think about when, the pandemic hit, or think about any major change in your life, right? Change in relationship. You moved to a new town. Something changed in the business or the company. You didn't want it to. Something changed in your family. You didn't want it to, right? That first phase, whenever that first phase hits, there is an immediate thing that happens in our mindset. An immediate thing when first change hits. When it's a change we did not direct, it happens to us. It might be unwelcome or uncertain. That first thing, that first grab that we feel, that sense of like, that is all about security. It's all about security. Oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. So I want things to stay the same. How am I? Am I okay? Will I be okay? What's happening? And there's like a grab for certainty. There's a fear of change. There's an unsettled emotional feeling like, what is happening here? And when security is driving people, the funniest things happen. You see, when we go into security, what this is really making us do is go into protective mode. It's making us go into hoarding mode. For those who are history buffs, when change happens, societal or global, this is often where we go into war. Right? We go into protectionism or nationalism. We go in like everyone else is bad. Wait, this is mine. This is where weird stuff happens. Like when we all ran out of toilet paper during the pandemic. Like, why did we all run out of toilet paper? Because something changed. We all went and bought a bunch of toilet paper, right? How many of you still have a whole pantry full of 74 bottles of vitamin C? you know, you're like, you went out and you just filled up your pantry because the pandemic or change happened. And you're like, why do I got all this stuff in my pantry? You overly purchased, you overly bought because you were scared, right? You were fearful. So you went into a little bit of a hoard mindset, a protection mindset. When this happens, guess what? When people introduce to you a new idea or a new opportunity, and you live here because of what's going on with the world, what do? You shut down. You protect yourself. And earlier I talked about history or society or change and how it can even lead to war. Be honest, how many of you had one or two of your biggest conflicts in your marriage or your relationship ever during the pandemic? Ever. Huge fight during the pandemic. Look around, raise your hand, be honest. Last 2 years, you had a huge fight with your family, friend, someone you loved, you cared. Yeah, some of you are like this. Some of you are like, oh, that was me. Thank you, Erica. I appreciate the honesty, Leanne. Like when that happens, it's because what happens is that cause of uncertainty, like boom. And what happens is we go into a very I-oriented mindset. I'm feeling this way. Don't mess with me. I'm feeling this way. And here's what we say to people, our spouses, our partners, our kids. You don't know what I'm going through. If you ever hear yourself going, you don't know what I'm going through, what it means is you're very uncertain. Your mind is saying, I want security. These people don't understand all the change I'm going through. And now, often in this area, because of we're protected or we're hoarding or we're at war, we get bitter towards other people. Bitterness increases because we think they can't understand the change we are going through. And the ego loves this stuff. Because the ego says, I'm the only one going through this. Nobody can understand. Even though there's 7 billion people in the world, we think, oh, I'm the only one. I'm the only one who has 3 kids and his job and a side hustle and this other thing. I'm the only one who's sick. I'm the only one who's gone through this. And as a high-performance coach, the hardest conversations in my entire career in the last 20 years has been when I had to be with a client and let her or he know, oh, you're not the only one who's ever gone through cancer. You're not the only one who's lost a child. You're not the only one who went bankrupt. You're not the only one who got cheated on. And I don't say that to discount their feelings. I say that because you know what? In this world, our ego takes over and it does the very thing that ruins our ability to move on through the uncertainty, which is the ability to ask for help. The ability to go, oh, someone must have figured this out. Let me model them. Many of you, your next level of breakthrough and earning is just talking to other people on your team or in Beachbody who are already more successful and modeling them because they figured it out. But often we just, we don't ask headquarters. We don't ask anybody else above us because we're embarrassed to be seen starting small. So we just go, and we go internal. And it is that internal nature that we all developed in these last couple of years, just like where you're at right now, right? We're all virtual and on Zoom. I'm blessed to be in a studio with other humans around me right now, and I know you might have some humans in the other room or on your lap, but what I do know is that internal nature that we all default went into a little bit, many people are still there. And if your mindset is all here, protect, step back, we're not going to sell anything at the next level. Because guess what? When you talk with the person and they can feel that from you, you can say all the right words, but you won't sell. You can say all the right things, but it doesn't happen because they sense that you're like this. When you got to be open and present and joyful in the moment. So just be aware of maybe where you're at. Is there any part of your life where you felt like, I a little shut down a little bit? I was scared of what was happening, so I've been pulling back, honestly. I've been upset other people can't understand me. Because when we are there, that's where the ego lives and where authentic confidence is stolen. When the ego takes over to protect you, you It's like there's a gate that slams and people can feel it emotionally. When you're open and you're there and you're present and joyous and authentic with them, something shifts. And we'll talk about how to get there because I know this is a difficult conversation, especially for early morning for some of you. But it's real. And we've got to know, wow, the culture and the crisis the last couple of years kind of threw us there. And many people are there. Sometimes you might be there. Well, like I said earlier too, if your prospects are here where they're just trying to protect themselves, where they're in security, right? They're seeking security, I should say. What ends up happening, if you come up, hey, I have a new opportunity, you can make $10,000, and they're like, bah! I can't control my house. Like, you're freaking them out. You're starting too soon. Like, you can't just talk up, you can't walk up to somebody, hey, I have an opportunity for you. And if they're in fear or terror or security or in the ego, you can give them the best compensation plan in the world, they won't raise their hand. They're not there yet. And here's the deal. I believe about 30% of the world is still here. Right? This is where you're seeking to protect yourself, seeking to have security, scared of change, and you're just grasping at the old world. This happens in companies like this all the time. Right? People are upset. They want the old compensation plan, the old leaders, the old whatever. And they're like so bitter against the change, they're holding on to the old world versus moving in a new world. You've been in this in your life before, right? In relationships. You were so mad about the breakup with that person that it kind of affected your first couple dates with the next person. We can't have real authentic joy and spontaneity and connection with other people when we're in the old world, right? That interest and that importantness of stepping into who you are now. This is what I love. Who are you now? Start living in that future desire and aspiration of who you want to be today. Make your decisions like, hey, 5 years out, I'm going to be a woman who is what? Now live that today. Versus, I came from this small town. I had this guy in my life, because that's what a lot of people do. They're living the old versus stepping into that new aspiration. And for you to raise up, you've heard me teach this at Beachbody before, you got to raise your ambition. You got to raise your ambition and your connection to a future that's exciting and important and authentic to you and step out of trying to hold on to the old thing. Because that holding on is going to hurt you, which we're going to talk about in sales later on. You have to identify where your prospects might be holding on, seeking security, fearful of change. That's important, right? A lot of what you all do is talking about a future identity for your customer, your prospect, isn't it true? You're talking about how she can feel in the future, which is important. And why it's important, you don't spend too much time, this is important, please write this down, bemoaning change with your prospect. What does that mean? Complaining about the current or the old world with your customer, your client, your team, your spouse, the kids. And if you're with me in that leadership session at Summit, you heard me talk about this phrase, and forgive me, I still haven't found the best phrase for this. But what happens is when you are living here with other people, you use the wrong words. And you spend too much time talking about, it's so frustrating right now. Oh yeah, do you see what's going on in the world? You don't realize what happens is a lot of conversation here falls into complaint. Now, you might not use the word complaint. What often you'll use, because you're positive, you'll use the word, no, Brennan, I'm developing empathy with them. Oh, yeah, it's so hard. Oh, this sucks. Oh, yeah, the power went out. Oh, yeah, this politician. Oh, yeah. And the conversation takes you out of the leadership position you need to be in and puts you into that conversation I joked about at Summit, which I just called girlfriending. When you're around the table with 4 or 5 of the other girls and you're just talking and you notice that the conversation kind of starts everyone is appropriately and in a good way, empathizing. Oh, this is so hard. Now I'm homeschooling. Now I got to work from home. Now I have to handle this. And that's very positive. That's empathy. That's real. But you also have to have intention. If you sat down at that table and you're there to sell, you're there to connect, you're there to build team, you're there to lead through that, you cannot let the bulk of the conversation live in that empathy or complaint. Raise your hand if you follow this one. I'm watching you. Can you get this? Can we get this? This is huge. This is huge. You got to pay attention as the leader of that conversation, because it will poison you, your family, the other people you're trying to lead so fast, and you don't even know it because you actually think you're connecting. Because soon as you complain, people connect. Soon as you say, oh, yeah, last night my husband did this. Oh, yeah, my husband did too. And oh, and the conversation becomes that. Of course you connect, and people nod their head. Oh, yeah, it sucks right now. And the weird thing is, it really energizes people to complain and to connect on hardships. So I know complaint isn't a word people always like, but it's like, oh, I'm connecting. And you'll see, you're like, when you're around that table with the girls and you start talking like that, they all, oh, yeah, yeah. And the conversation picks up and everyone's contributing and it feels like something good is going on, except what's going on is you're killing the cell. What's going on is you're killing the future movement. What you're doing is you are actually, the deeper that conversation goes, the deeper in lockdown they go. The more the conversation is complaint, bitterness, I want the old world, I don't like how it is now, you don't realize you're locking their psychology down in security. And now, you could be the greatest saleswoman in the world. They won't buy what you did if you locked them down there first. Raise your hand. You guys got this? This is so huge. I'm watching this kill marriages. I'm watching this kill teams right now. Leaders just don't know it because when they talk about a complaint, it's like everyone just connects so much. And they think it's a good thing. And I'm like, no, there is an appropriateness there, which we will talk about. I'm also sharing this for you, for your confidence. If you hear that voice that's constantly complaining or bitter or upset or wants the old world, pay attention because it's robbing your confidence. You don't know that that loop is locking you down into security in such a way you won't change. And then the worst of it all happens. We get bitter and we get upset that other people don't know what we're going through. And now we don't want to deal with other people. We don't want to talk to them. We get frustrated with them too fast. We become impatient with them. Because we forget that they might also be here. So let's move through and I'll come back, okay? Let's just step through this a little bit. I'll come back to these ideas. I'm just trying to get everyone's mind in context and frame. Is this too serious for the first part of the morning? You guys are here? You're still here? Put your hand up. Say, I'm here. Okay, I'm watching your faces. I see you, Dina and Lindsay and Alice. I actually see your faces. People always think I'm like alone over here. I'm not alone over here. I'm watching your beautiful faces. I see ya. I see ya. Give me some claps. Let me see you're alive. Let's see. I see ya. Let's go. Hi, Alice. Kylie, thank you. Thank you, Christy. Let's go. Okay, so we're going to move through. We're going to move right on through. Our second phase, okay, so the first one is the grabbing on to keep things the way they are, to protect ourselves. And we go into our mindset of us, I. Well, the next one, as we go through this, we move from security and we move into coping. We move into a grasp for what you might just call wellness. What do I mean? Well, see, now we go, this one refused to change. This one goes, I guess I have to change now. I'd better figure it out now. And so what do we do? Well, you see what happened the last 2 years? Oh my gosh. The biggest grasp for wellness in the history of the world. Mindfulness went, well-being, meditation, wow. What you guys sell and do, wow. Because people said, oh, I need to, okay, this is stressful, right? This was fearful. This was a lot of fear over here, right? And I don't want to change. Now here, the reason we're doing wellness is because this is stressful. So I'm still learning to write with this. Let me make that prettier. I can do better. I can do better. I can do better. I can do better. Okay, let's do this. We're going to wellness here. You know you're from Montana, you got to stick your tongue out just to write something. And what's that causing? That's causing a lot of stress. So a lot of people are stressed. And the good news is, in that stress, they start looking for a better way. Right? This is, okay, this ultimately is still at the I need to adjust. Right? This, I might be in survival mode. This, I'm now into coping. And it's good. If people stay in fear and survival mode and they don't move into coping, we're in trouble. I believe most of the world is actually right here, right now. Right? They're kind of like, okay, the world's kind of changed. I got to kind of figure it out. I'll try some new things. Okay, where am I at? And that's a positive thing. That's a positive thing. And we're trying to adjust, right? We're trying to adjust. And so first and foremost, let me just come back to your mindset and then some leadership communication, and we'll keep building here. Your mindset. If you were here, you've got to start telling yourself, okay, that was frustrating and scary. I need to find some positive habits and lock them in so I can deal with this stress better. And that's where we were really the last 2 years, but some people never moved there. Positive habits to deal with the stress better, right? I got to adjust to the new world. But here's how you know if you're still there. In adjusting to the new world, you're still like, who am I? What's happening? And you've been like tinkering on your life. You've been tinkering on the business, right? Here, you often don't want to do anything, right? This is scary. I'm going to sit on the couch. There's going to be a bottle of wine, a thing of popcorn, and 7 seasons of Netflix tonight, right? You're like, I am disengaged. I'm done, Brendan. This one says, no, I'm putting myself out there. I'm adjusting. I'm tinkering. I'm moving ahead. And I'm taking care of myself. Your job, and I know you already know this, but your ability to role model health in both mindset and body is so critical right now. Because most people actually haven't done it. They tinkered. They tried. They bought a bunch of stuff. Right? They bought some stuff, but they haven't used it. They were tinkering. The whole world tinkered in the last 2 years. It's kind of funny. People are like, why is global debt going up? Why is consumerism going up? Why is everyone's credit card bills going up? It's because they're still tinkering. And the more you tinker, the more you spend. It's kind of funny. The more committed and focused you are, the more you're clear about not dabbling or tinkering on a bunch of other stuff. You're just like, this is where my focus goes. So you actually spend less when you choose your focus. When you don't have your focus and you're just trying to cope and tinker, you buy a million dumb things, right? You don't have the direction. But if you're in this room, you've got that direction. You've got that win. It's time to really focus and double down now, right? And adjust into this new reality. Like, you're in this room. You're a leader in this room. And I especially want to say this to those who are live right now. There's probably, I don't know how many hundreds who also got the invitation and they're not here. You're here. You're doing the work. You're showing up. Let's go, ladies. You're doing the work. You're putting it in. You're doing it up. You've adjusted. You're showing up. You're playing. You're committed. That's different. That's different. Good for you. I see you. Good for you, Christy. Good for you, Brenda. Good for you, Heather. You're showing up. You're different. You're different. You've made some of that adjustment, right? But here's the good news. Since you've made it, and since it's your job to role model it, you need to talk more about the adjustments you've made in your life. You need to talk more about the adjustments you've made in your life, and the good ones, and the ones that worked. More time there than here. Remember, if you're girlfriending over here and you're connecting and yes, it's so bad, and empathy and talking, compassion and understanding and praise, all those things are important. But if the conversation doesn't shift into positive adjustment, into the things that are now working better, into how you'll feel less stressed, how you'll feel more energized, how this will pull you through the funk. If more of the conversation isn't here than it is here, that's why your team is not building. More importantly, it's why your team leaves. It's why teams leave. It's why companies die. They get too protective, and there's not enough leadership conversation about the positive adjustments we are making that are working. So could you write this down for yourself, just real fast in your notes? What are the 5 positive adjustments you've made in your life in the last year and a half? What are 5 positive adjustments you've made in your life? It can be mindset, body, mind, spirit, family, friendship, ways you teach the kid or deal with your spouse. It could be whatever, just what comes to your mind. Just don't even worry about getting it right. Just write it down. 5 positive adjustments you've made in your life. Put it in your notes. If you'd like to share it in the chat, you're welcome to. Oh, these are good. Date nights, putting myself first, letting things go, breaking up, stopping drinking, spending more time with family, personal development habits, storytelling, walking more, listening more, unplugging, joining Beachbody, daily movement, acting again, sleeping better, morning mindset, reading more, self-love. This is beautiful. Asking for help, getting and seeking advice, adventures, journaling, commitment to therapy. Do you see how these are all so different? If you didn't post any of yours yet, post your number 1 thing in the chat so we can all see it. What's the number 1 adjustment you make that led to positive results or experience in your life? Working out, retiring, sleeping, breathing, quitting jobs, motherhood, beautiful, sobriety, marriage, beautiful, 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 beautiful. Beautiful. Now, how good does it feel to think about that? When you look at the chat of your fellow ladies and friends here, how good does it make you feel for her? Look at the chat for a moment. I really want you to look at it. When she says that, how good do you feel for her? She began movement. She began being more courageous. She began being present. She improved her marriage. She started meditating. How good do you feel for her? If you think about it, it's a different feeling, isn't it? Even you writing it down, ladies, it's beautiful. Guys, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to have a conversation. And what I need you to understand is how often that conversation needs to be in your brains. Okay? That positive thing you're doing, Erica, and Natalie and Victoria, Yannick, Melody, Kinsey, these positive adjustments, are you giving yourself credit for that? Are you thanking yourself or your creator for that? Are you living there each day? Or living over there in bubble number one? Because a lot of people, they're bubble number one, complaining about themselves, their life, their old stories. But the world has shifted, and we've got to now celebrate our adjustments. We've got to celebrate and understand that we have changed, we are changing, and this positive habits is a big shift into our conversations. A huge shift. So I'm going to give you the greatest gift ever. Next time you sit down with the girls, the prospect, the team, the people you're trying to sell, I want you in your brain to think, are we in bubble one? Or are we in bubble two? And I don't want you to ever allow a conversation to spend more than 10% of time in bubble one. Because remember I said, sometimes it's positive, right? Sitting down, oh, the weather sucks. Oh, traffic. Oh, I hate this new change. Oh, this is so hard. Connecting with what's hard is human. It's totally okay. But if you live there, there's no movement to something higher. If there's no movement to something higher, no change to something better, they don't buy. And worse, you don't buy it in your brain. You keep going back to the old story. Raise your hand if this is helpful so far. We're just on bubble two, I know, but I want to make sure I'm checking you all out. I'm watching you. Okay? Good. I appreciate you all being here and taking these notes and doing this work, because as soon as you realize where your conversation has been, it changes everything. Imagine a marriage here in bubble one most of the time, right? You or your spouse come home, complain about the kids, complain about the traffic, complain about the money, complain about the neighbors. You live here, you poison everything. You live here, you drown in a pool of pessimism. Woo! How's that for a phrase from a guy from Montana? You drown in a pool of pessimism. You can't figure it out. You feel terrible. Mindset and conversation now moves into adjustment. That's phase two. If I had to guess, I feel like the world, it's still, maybe 15 to 25% here. Most of the world easily here. The world has kind of realized, okay, I need to change. I need to find a better way. I need to figure myself out. But notice, it's I need to figure myself out. And in there, we detach and we lean a little bit towards ego again. And here's the other thing. A lot of people, they're here, but they are still tinkering. They're here, but it's all about the tinkering, the testing, the trying. And here's how you know if you're here. And I've gotten the blessing of working with many of you. And even at Summit, backstage, many of the ladies who got to go up on stage and share their results, they're like, I took your course 5 years ago. I was in your mastermind. I was at your thing. I'm in growth day. Like so many of you gave me so much. It was like backstage, I was like, wow. Sometimes you don't know. I'm just in a room by myself most of the time. So it's like, oh, thank you. I'm glad my work's doing something. And yet, even for some leaders who I've had a conversation with, here's how I know they're still in bubble two. They're really productive on a Tuesday, and that about it. They're crushing it Monday and Thursday, but they're not even trying the rest of the week. That's tinkering. There's no consistency, devotion, commitment, mastery, drive, productivity, progress. And so, and forgive me because this always becomes like a misunderstood thing of when I'm trying to teach this. What happens, we start to see in society, is there becomes a big shift between those who succeed and those who don't from this point. Some people staying in tinkering and adjustment. Now you have the haves and the have-nots. And no one likes when I say that because people make it political or socioeconomic. And I'm like, no, it's truly mindset and communication. And so what happens is when we come into here, okay, didn't like the change, don't want it, gonna fight it. Willing to change, tinkering, trying, doing good, right? Now we get back over here and everything becomes about what is known as performance edge. This becomes productivity. This becomes something where it's about drive. And this is because you recognize the opportunity. Oh, most people are stuck there. I can pull them here. You see this in large-scale reality. For example, in the economy, you're seeing it right now as I am literally shooting this live with you guys. The economy just went through this in January, February, March. What happened? Well, all of a sudden, the last 2 years where there was a lot of tinkering and spending and, printing money and what are we all going to do and figuring things out, we got a little loose. In understanding the world was going through change, companies and teams stayed here, and there was a lot of empathy. We have wellness programs at our company. We're teaching our people mindfulness. We're all going to be okay. And we did all this beautiful connection and everything, and a lot of people didn't do no work. We empathized, but companies lost their edge. Their people actually became disengaged because they didn't know. The company CEO was talking so much about burnout and avoiding that and working from home. No one was driving productivity. And you see this at mass levels right now, right? In February and March, mass layoffs. Why? Because finally, at some point, this is insufficient, and at some point, your finances are threatened when you live here. At some point, you're like, whoa, I better get my act together because I'm either going to lose or I'm going to build. And your brain knows it. And if you recognize that's happening in the world, I'm going to lose or I'm going to build, and you don't show up to build on a consistent basis, your brain starts going, I'm a loser. And it's not that you're a loser. It has nothing to do with your high school or your childhood or the traumas you've been through. Those things all have significant lasting impact, but I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. What I'm here to share is what happens is our dominant conversation becomes about that because we recognize we are not, in the moment, living the best that we can. We're not progressing. We're not trying. We're tinkering. And see, confidence has a lot to do with competence and consistency, right? There's a confidence-competence loop you've heard me teach about for 20 years, I hope. And around that circle is consistency. So the more competent you become, that means your knowledge, skill, ability, applied talent. That's what competence means. Knowledge, skill, ability, and applied talent. So the more you learn, right, the more you master something, the more confident you are, right? Your first time you pitch somebody, Beachbody, you're mortified. The 100th time, you got it down, babe. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's competency and consistency applied. And it's just different. Well, if you do it once in a while and you tinker at it, but you're not doing it consistently and you know how, your brain goes, I know how to do what I should do, but I don't do it. And you get discouraged and down on yourself. And usually the master unlock is what I talked about Summit. It's learning a new way to deal with your self-doubt in times of change where you got to progress. Usually your self-doubt goes, I don't know, I'm not so good at this, she's better. So self-esteem, I'm not good at this, she's better, comparison. And then we self-doubt ourselves. And most people, when they self-doubt, they stop progress. They stop trying, or they tinker. But if you understand, self-doubt is just a signal to learn. Self-doubt is saying, hey, you need to learn and develop competency here and get consistent here. That's all that self-doubt was ever meant to be. If you doubt yourself water skiing, it's your brain saying, I don't know how to do that. You should get up on those skis and try. Like the brain is actually urging you on. It's our childhood that usually stops us, right? The brain's like, oh, wait a second. I don't know how to do that, but your actual, authentic, real, higher self wants to try. Your consciousness wants to expand, not contract. Your consciousness wants to give it a try. Your consciousness wants to see what you're capable of. Your potential begs you to step into the unknown. Your potential begs you to step into the unknown. It wants to see what you're capable of and what you're made for. Because what you are and who you are and what you're capable of is way beyond what you know about yourself or I know about you or your sister or your brother or your mama knows about you. No one knows, except maybe a creator if you believe in a creator. I do. It's like, no, I can't even guess what I'm capable of. I have no idea. To me, what I am capable of is so far out there because I haven't even tried so many things. So self-doubt's not a signal to stop. Self-doubt is a signal to learn. When you feel like, I don't know, that's your brain saying, learn and try, learn and try, learn and try. But contextually in the world, like I said, most people are here now. They've adjusted. But listen, there's a difference between adjusting and progressing. Write it down on your piece of paper. There's a difference between adjusting and progressing. Between adjusting and progressing, another way you might say this, there's a big old difference between tinkering and producing, right? This is about build. This is about getting stuff done. Like this is about mastery. This is about consistency. This is about drive. It's about what I just call, this is the high performance bubble. Most of you guys know my work from High Performance Habits, right? This is where high performers live. They're willing to push. They're willing to challenge. And in doing that, they stun people. And the conversation, when someone gets here, they recognize they need to move into the we conversation, what we can do together. It goes from, I don't want to fight it, I don't like it, here's what we are going through, I'm just saying, no. Now it's, hey, we got to get our act together. The biggest companies in the world just had this conversation. If you missed the news, Mark Zuckerberg got in trouble over Facebook because he was on a global call with all his employees and he said, honestly and very authentic, he says, there's some people here at Facebook who probably shouldn't be here. And what he was referencing was people who were disengaged, people who weren't driven anymore, people who were just there for the wellness program and the meditation, but not there to produce. And oh my God, all this controversy. Except 2 weeks later, I think Sundar, I think that's his name. I apologize if I got it wrong. Over at Google, the CEO said, you know what, at Google, we've kind of lost our productivity. We got to get better at that. We need a new conversation in our culture about pushing things ahead again. Pushing things ahead, right? This is adapting to things. Bubble 1 and 2. Adapting to things. Bubble 3, pushing ahead, building, consciously challenging ourselves and other people to lift. And the research says unequivocally, without doubt, 190 countries studied, hundreds of thousands of high performers from dozens of different industries. It's pretty clear that about 15% of the world lives here. Only 15%. And you all have seen this, right? At Summit, you got the big arena, and then that leadership room, maybe 10, 20% of the audience. Who's seen that before? You get that? You've seen it so many times. And you were in that room, or you'll be in that room this next time because now you realize you're paid to push. Write it down. You are paid to push, right? Literally, I am paid to push. Like write it on a piece of paper. Put it on, a piece of paper. Not in your little tappy, on something around you. Take out a marker, take out a pen. I am paid to push. Your greatest breakthroughs in wealth and psychology for yourself is when you step into that flow, that idea, that belief, that performance edge is what I call it, of drive, building. I'm paid to push. Oh my God. Type it down. I see over there, Susie and Trina captured it. I'm paid to push right here. Kelly's paid to push. Stephanie's paid to push. T's paid to push. Sarah's paid to push. I see it right here. Y'all paid to push. Once you realize you are paid, there you go, ladies. Liz, Sonia, she got it. Jolene, Melissa, Beanie, let's go. Paid to push, let's go. Let's go. We're paid to push. You can clap at home for yourself. Once you get this, everything shifts. Oh my God, I'm paid to push. That's what's happening. Raise your hands with me and say, I'm paid to push. I'm paid to push. You gotta push, babe. You gotta push, my dude. You gotta push. You gotta push. You gotta push yourself out of bubble 1, out of bubble 2, and you gotta build again. You gotta push again. You wanna change your life, get performance edge again. Now, I know as soon as I say this to people, yeah, I wanna do that, I wanna do that. This is what you do, right? All your challenges are set up. Why? It's a challenge. It's accountability. It's socializing personal change with your neighborhood, with the people around you, with your prospects, with your team. And too many people have been like walking on eggshells around productivity for the last 2 or 3 years because, oh, I know it's so hard. I know you only sold 3. That's totally okay because it's really hard right now. But you know what? I believe in you. You'll do better. And yeah, it is so hard. Oh yeah, me too. And they don't realize how much that kills ambition. You have to speak to yourself, hey, push. Just like when you're doing the workout, you know it, right? What's probably the number one thing that all your super trainers say at some point? Push. Push. I remember doing Insanity. I'm like, I'm dying. My tongue is hanging out like a dead golden retriever. I'm like, I cannot skip and jump and do this thing anymore. He's like, push. I'm like, okay. You who knows what I'm talking about? You've had a workout in Beachbody where you were dying. They said, push. And you're like, yeah. And you did it. That's the edge. That's where you need to live. That's your next level. That's where your conversations have to lean. Not all of them, right? Remember, I said only 15% of the world is here. But you know what? Take that as math and put that in your mind and in your conversations. So when you're with that girlfriend table, as an example, it's fine. 10% might be here. That's fine. It's fine. 75% might be here. That's fine. Positive progress, habits. What are you trying? What's working for you? What are you after? Who are you now? But at some point, we've got to push. We've got to push. The leader has to be the one to say, you know what? Yeah, there's a lot going on right now. And we're all trying to adjust and get better at it. And you know what? I see so much potential in what's possible. If we raise our ambition and our performance right now, we can have a huge breakthrough because everyone else is living over here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So how much of your conversation is living here is a huge indicator of your sales, of your team, of who shows up. Now, I know some people say, but Brandon, that's stressful. I'm like, no. Stressful is over here, right? If you're confusing high performance and stress, please read High Performance Habits again, because the science is so dang clear that what ends up happening is high performers achieve long-term success while maintaining well-being and positive relationships. What that means is people who achieve long-term success and maintain and still claim to be happy, by the way, they don't wreck their health or their relationships. People who maintain long-term success, they don't wreck their health or their relationships. They might have some blips, but there's a consistency there, right? There's a consistency there. I've worked out every other day for 20 years of my life. Very rarely miss. I don't work out really hard, I wouldn't say. I probably work out, I don't know, at a 70% level every other day. And in 20 years, I haven't injured myself working out. In 20 years, my optimization wasn't for abs, clearly. Instead, my optimization was, I want to work out so I have more energy. I want to work out so I can blow out some of the stress and have more energy later on the day. I don't want to work out so hard that I bonk at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I want to do it just enough to keep me breathing, open up my breath and my lungs. We all have different things. I mean, I could look at some of you all are so shape. I'm like, wow, right? I could not keep up with probably 90% of you. And so what I have to say is, okay, What's the right way for me to push? And when I'm in a group of people, like your teams, it's how do we push? What's our next level? What's your next level? What will serve you? And that conversation with your team and your prospects is so important. Can you all see how this is moving through in an actual, you're sitting down at a table, having a conversation with people, and you might connect here, you might even live in that complaint for a minute, but then you're like, okay, what are you trying? What's working? Oh, here's what's working for me. Here's what I'm trying. Here's how I'm dealing with this. Here's who I am now. Now, there's another level. Now, drive. Now, success or get left behind. That's really key right now. I think you're seeing not just Facebook and Google as my examples. You're seeing the entire global economy realizing, oh, we get to perform right now. Because guess what? Whether we like it or not, it just got harder. Inflation, housing costs, education, everything in our lives just got more expensive. Anyone see this? Anyone feel this? It's real. Anyone make the mistake of trying to buy some furniture and they're like, yeah, you can have it in 9 months. You're like, oh my God, it takes 9 months to get a couch now. Like everything has changed, global supply, global economies. And when that happens, that means you need more performance edge because you actually have to earn more. You got to drive more for your family, for your team. And some people hate that. But here's something you have to teach yourself. This has a lot to do with your confidence, your mindset. Anything you apply hate to dies. Anything you apply hate to dies. So you say, I hate that my husband does this. You say that enough times, that relationship will die. Right? Because your body and brain won't put up with that. It will stop. Same thing if you say, I hate myself, then a part of you dies. You say it enough times, I hate myself. That self-loathing, a part of you dies. Hate kills everything. Kills relationships, kills societies. It's the worst thing on the planet. And so when we say, I hate something, it dies. Well, if you say, I hate change, you just killed progress. If you hate the demands of the new world, I got to earn more for my family. If you hate the fact that please listen, you hate the fact that you have to earn more for your family, you won't earn more for your family. Your brain will kill it. Because anything hate is applied to dies. I hate that I have to earn more. I hate that this economy. I hate that this. As soon as you do that, boom, you just killed progress. You just killed it. So you have to go, no. Okay, I'm up for the challenge. That's what this is, right? Challenge. I'm up for that. It's thrown in front of you. You didn't want it. You're got to be up for it. One time I broke my leg before a speech, a 4-day seminar. I broke my leg like a week and a half before. And I was going to have to be in this big leg foam thing. And I was going to have to do a whole seminar, 4 days on this thing. And for days, I'm like, oh my God, why me? I hate this. This sucks. Why do I have to get sick now? Why? Often, why lives here? Why does this happen? Oh, I don't want it, right? Fighting. And at some point I go, Brendan, this is going to be so badass. You're going to do a seminar with a broken leg in front of 1,000 people for 4 days. You're a legend. Let's go. Let's see how you can show up. How can you take care of yourself? How you can do some mobility? How can you learn how to manage that? What an epic story this is going to be. Let's go. And I had to get myself fired up because I knew if I kept bemoaning it, hating it, complaining, I'd kill it. Raise your hand if you follow. Y'all got this? It's so important to understand. So important to understand. You got to understand this. You got to get this. Because here's the other thing you didn't know. Sometimes, as a leader, your mindset is confident. You're doing great. In fact, you're here. You're crushing it. But there's a thing that you hate that's happening on your team right now that you did not know is killing your team. Please listen closely to this. This is really important for you. I would not say this to a general audience. This is for you. What happens is because you're successful at this now, right? You got that momentum. You got those first sales. Many of you have been crushing it for years. What happens? Now, a dangerous thing. What happens is it's very easy as you get success, as you start building, as you start crushing it. You're actually here. You live here. Most of you, to be in this room, based on new people in Beachbody, you're here. You've already passed them. And you've done that because it's been about we. Here's what happens, though. When you get really successful, one of the greatest poisonings of success is we flip it back to I, and we end up unconsciously hating something very unique. Please listen to this. Just like what killed us in Bubble 1, we hate that other people can't understand. We hate that other people don't do what we do. Leaders, here's the poison. You do this all the time. You go, I just had that conversation with her, and she's talking about, oh, she's got this going on, and she's got one kid, but her husband works, and he also earns. Doesn't she know what I went through? Doesn't she know how many doors I knocked on? Doesn't she understand how hard I work? Doesn't she understand I got 4 kids? Doesn't she? And your brain goes into comparison, pulls you back into ego. Even though you're successful, your brain and ego rips you back into bubble number 1. And you hate that they don't work as hard as you. I want you to write this statement down. I actually want you to write the statement. I hate that they don't work as hard as me. Write it down. Don't worry, we're going to correct it. I want you to write it down first. I hate that they don't work as hard as me. Write it down. I hate that she doesn't work like me. I hate that my husband doesn't understand how hard work. I hate that the kids don't get it. I hate that my neighbor's making fun of me and doesn't understand. And you apply hate. It just stole your joy, your confidence. It took you from a joyous succeeding and it ripped you into ego, complaint, bitterness, and it stops you because your brain hates it. Your brain hates that your husband can't understand. So you go, why keep trying? Because he'll never understand. Who just followed the psychology there? It is a monster leap. So where you wrote down hate, I hate that they don't work as hard as me, I want you to cross out hate, and I want you to write love. I love that they don't work as hard as me. I love that they'll never see the nights that I put in. I love that I'm getting to separate right now when everybody else is just tinkering. I love that I'm building this on my own terms. I love that I'm a mile ahead of everybody else. I love that I can go to bed at night, put my head on my pillow and go, I gave my best today. I love that I'm succeeding. I love that I'm trying. You don't need everyone to understand your journey to push your journey forward. You don't need everyone's understanding. And the hardest part about being a leader, you don't need everyone's empathy either. You don't need it. That's not the job of the leader. That's the hardest thing. We want this for ourselves so much, but the more we want this for ourselves, we end up complaining when we don't get it. And I'll make this tactical because some people are like, I'm not talking philosophically here. I'll give you an example. Between my 2 companies, I have 200 employees between my 2 companies. Okay, and then I'm an advisor into 4 or 5 other companies with thousands of employees where I work with them every month, right? And then I have all of you to serve in Beachbody or my other partnerships or in Growth Day. I have all these people to serve, all these people. And, I want that acknowledgement or appreciation. I want people to understand how hard it is on me and my family to make the sacrifices and the choices. And many of you all know how hard it is to create content, right? I've created 4 pieces of content every single day since 2007. There's consistency and choice and compromise there as well. I've also lost family members. I've also been sick. I've also broken bones. I've also had bankruptcies and challenges. But it doesn't matter because I'm paid to push. I'm paid to keep going. I got to tell my brain, keep going, Brendan, keep building. You can do it and adjust well to have that, sense of well-being and those positive relations. But you got to keep going. Well, it's so hard when you're a leader because you want everybody to appreciate how hard you're working. They never will. They never will. It just won't happen. Like, think about what I do for a living. I'll give you a tangible example. Okay, think about what I do for a living. I send out a note to all of my team, and this will sound like I'm complaining, so you all be like with me now, because complaint gets everyone nodding their head. Ooh, that's terrible. Bastards. You get all excited when someone starts complaining. Your eyes are all going to, everyone's going to re-engage now because I'm going to complain about something on my team. You're like, ooh, tell me what happened. Like, that's what happened, right? It's so easy to connect here. So in Christmas, I send something out to my team inevitably, right? And out of 200 employees, maybe like 9 or 10 reply back and wish me a Merry Christmas and say something nice, right? I go to roll out some new initiative, or just recently, I just rolled out a new Audible. If you're on my list, you saw I have a brand new Audible program that just came out like literally 2-3 days ago. Roll out, put it in our Slack to our whole teams. Hey, I have this new Audible. I'm so excited about it. You know how many people commented on that? Like a tiny few. Do you know how many of them wrote me an email? Congratulations on your Audible? 4. 4 out of 200 wrote me an email saying, congratulations on your Audible. Now here's the deal. Does that bother me? Not in the slightest at all. I don't live here. I don't work so that other people can say, good job, Brendan. That was in high school. As an adult, as a driver, as a leader, you do it because it's contribution. You do it because it's fulfilling. You do it because in your heart, in your mind says, I have potential. I'm going to express that potential. You don't dampen your potential based on their praise. Woo! You do not dampen your potential based on their praise. In the absence of their praise, you don't go absent on your potential from your Creator. In the absence of their understanding, you don't go absent on your productivity. You are not doing it for them. You are not. It feels like no, I'm doing it for my kids. I'm like, no, only partially. Only partially. You also have a soul and a spirit. God gave those kids souls and spirits. Also gave you one. There's something in you that you have to manifest and bring forth and create and realize and fulfill and joyously express that's unique to only you. And when you don't do that, despite the understanding or the empathy or the encouragement or the praise, you're cheating yourself, not placating them. And this is an important thing. Remember, I asked you to wear 2 hats. You have to wear the hat for your confidence knowing this, but also in your communication with others, you have to do this because guess what? When you're talking with the girls at the dinner table or at the your girlfriending, many of the ladies might say, oh, my husband doesn't understand. Maybe they don't understand. They won't allow me to do this. And they start objecting to you and your team based on somebody else. And you need to pull them back in and say, but let's talk about you. You're different. You have a spirit. How are you adjusting? How are you doing? What's going to be the next level of potential realization for you? What will bring you alive? What will help you express your truth? What will make you feel fulfilled because you tried today? And that's the hardest part. But you guys call yourself coaches. That's what coaches do. Move back into that expression of full potential. Back into it, despite all the other stuff. Because is there always going to be obstacles and misunderstanding and frustrating and people don't get 100% of the time? But the question is, despite all that, how much can you step into you? How much can you encourage the women around you to step into them? Because maybe empathy lives over here, but there's like this little line that goes over here that really we must live in encouragement. We've got to go from the empathy and encourage. push, drive, performance, making money, earning, building, whatever it is for you that you're trying to drive, celebrate that. Be happy about that. Like literally live there. It's okay that you want to live there. It's okay you want to earn more. It's okay you want to be your most beautiful. It's okay you want to contribute the most. It's okay they don't understand. You're not doing it for they. You're either doing it for yourself and the fulfillment of your potential or the fulfillment of his potential if you're a believer, right? And I know that sounds, everyone's like, that sounds selfish. I'm like, no, this is what's selfish, right? Because what happens over here, service, encouragement, helping people fully express their potential. So if you want the simplest recap of what I'm talking about, level 1 and 2, don't like change, gonna fight it. Figuring myself out, adjusting, tinkering. This, driving, building, expressing full potential. And your trick as a leader is to know what percentage of your conversation in your personal thoughts and in your words at the girlfriend table live here versus here versus here. Brendan, how have you built these big teams? Had a unicorn company, had the opportunity to serve with, literally, and work with and coach Oprah and U.S. presidents and U.S. Olympians and Usher and celebrities, all these things that people see on the, in the world. What they don't understand, the difference between me and other coaches is most coaches just live here in small little things, and I live over here in most of my conversation. Even as I explain these things to you, if you watch this replay, even as I explained these, I was challenging you the whole time. I was encouraging you the whole time. Even as I explained that. Did you all hear that? Like, that's what was happening. So if I had any effect today, it was because I was living in the challenge conversation. But here's the truth. If I repelled you today, it's also because I was living in the challenge conversation. If something I said today you didn't like or didn't resonate, it's probably because I'm still cutting my own hair and I did a really bad job. Or it's because right here, when people really resist something that's obvious or truthful or helpful, they'll live here. And so as soon as you're aware of this little model, and it always goes this way, right? We had 14 years of productivity in the economy. We lived over here. We were crushing it, right? The economy was growing like crazy in North America anyway. And then, pandemic, we all snapped back here. Your job is to move people through, help them make some small adjustments, buy your products, do the first workouts, tinkering with a few different super trainers, trying a few different of your products, and at the same time being in the challenge conversation. You are paid to push. You always have to live in the challenge conversation. And for those of you who have team, every time you call the team, you always have to be in your brain like, okay, how am I going to challenge them? What are the phrases? How am I going to have them express their potential, try harder, push despite the pain? Like those things, we got to remind ourselves to do. We have to tell ourselves these percentages. And when we do that, we reach a whole other level of performance. It's like night and day. It's like you're a different person. When your brain, when you teach your thoughts to move into bubble 3, and when you make the conversations at your dinner table and with your friends and with your prospects and with each other here today in a moment, when you do these conversations in that challenge, that positivity, that encouragement, life feels better. And who's in that game today, ladies and gentlemen? Let's go. I love that you are here today. I love that you are here, Claire, Dion, and Jessica. I love that you're here, Onyx, Heather, thank you, Dixie, Candace, I love that you're here. I love that you're here. I love that you're here. So, what are your ambitions? What are your dreams? What are your goals? What are the things that you're going to drive towards? How are you going to live in bubble number 3? So in a moment, I'm going to do a breakout. I'm going to ask you to share a couple things with each other because you don't see each other enough no more, right? We got to connect and feel the fire of those around us again, right? We got to have these conversations. Most people's conversations over here. So today, we get to have the conversation over here. And we're going to do a very simple one, very simple ones. First, when we do a breakout in a moment, we'll do breakout rooms, just 5 or 6 of you at a time. And in that conversation, here's 3 things I want you to share with each other. Number 1, what was an aha or a breakthrough or a lesson or a decision that you got today, this session? It could be something I said. You're like, dude, when he said that, oh my God, that meant something to you. Or it can be just like, I was sitting here and this thing came to me and pow. Because sometimes it's just being in the learning environment that serendipity downloads. So it might not even be something I said. It might just have come to your thoughts. So what was your aha today? Something that meant something to you. Something that was important to you. Okay. The second thing I want you to share, what's something you are grateful for in your life right now? Gratitude. Just something, I'm so happy I get to have this in my life. I'm so excited. I'm so excited this is in my life. Because sometimes we don't talk about gratitude in excitement. Number 3, what are your top 3 goals in finishing this year strong? What would that mean to you? I just want you to live and what are you going to build? What are you going to challenge yourself? It can be a financial thing. It can be a physical fitness thing. It can be a team building thing. What are my goals? What are my goals? And I apologize, I said that there's 3 things. The 4th thing is, what do you need help with? What do you need help with right now? Is it learning how to use some system or tool, learning how to explain something, learning how to close somebody, learning what to do online, learning how to manage something in your health or your relationships or your finances? Like, what is it you specifically need help with? Because you got to ask. If you hung out with me, all I do is ask people around me questions all the time. Hey, how do you do this? How does that work? What does this do? Like, even before, if you came in here, me and one of the camera guys were just jamming on this camera lens over here. Like, oh, what is that one? How does that? Like, always asking questions. And when you do that with your peer group, you're exploring the future versus complaining about the past. The challenge conversation is about exploring the future, asking questions to help us break through consistently and constantly. Okay, so in a moment, we'll do that. First, what's an aha you had today? Second, what's something you're grateful for at this stage of your life? Third, what is your goal, or what are your goals for the rest of this year? And then fourth, what do you need help with? Now, if you've never done a breakout with me, one of the things I want you to do is to practice this philosophy of bringing joy. I want you to come into this session, no matter where you're at, what's going on in your life, I want you to show up at least for the people you're in service to today. That's your fellow ladies and fellas here who are serving in Beachbody. I want you to show up and just bring some good energy for them, right? In just this little window. If you want to go to complaining and upset later on, do it after the Zoom. But since we're here, let's have some fun. Let's bring the joy in this conversation. We'll put 20 minutes on the clock to give you guys the time to talk through these 4 things. And then we'll come back. I'll end it in 3, 4, 5 minutes to give you the next steps, and we'll rock and roll. But this is the time to bring some joy with each other. Are you ready? Let's go have some fun. Let's bring the joy. On your mark, get set. The team will break you out. And go. All right, let's go, Beachbody. Who met somebody awesome during that breakout? Did you meet somebody awesome? Let's go. I see your beautiful faces. Welcome back. Welcome back. I want to celebrate you for sharing with your friends. Who feels more energized now that you saw some of your friends out there? Oh my gosh. Listen, you know these ladies. You know this team. As you are building to this next level, as you are moving into bubble number 3, you must remind yourself to stay encouraged. How do you do that? You got to do that again next month, and again next month, and again next month. You got to keep talking with each other about what you're grateful for, about what your goals are, about what you need help with. You got to get yourself out of bubble 1 where you shut down, you're in your house by yourself, you're concerned, you're self-doubtful. And you got to realize you're on a team, baby. You're on a team. Who loves this team today, ladies and gentlemen? I love it. I watch you lighting it up over here. Great breakout sessions. This is about staying encouraged. And the best way to stay encouraged is to socialize your growth. To socialize your growth. That means you're sharing your results and your challenges with your friends. It means you're leveraging your team leaders who already know how to go to the next level, asking for support, talking about the future, building this together. It's a we story. And when you keep staying in connection with each other, because some of you, this is the first time you talk to somebody in a breakout in a Zoom. You should be doing that on the weekly with each other. You should be talking with each other and with other leaders so consistently to stay encouraged. Just beware of staying in bubble 1 or number 2 in those conversations. You be the one to keep pushing the conversation forward to the future, towards productivity, towards progress, towards encouragement. I know when I teach this, some people say, oh, this sounds like a bunch of productivity. I'm like, no, look at the base foundation, encouragement, and we. Staying encouraged together. Don't give up on yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Don't stop yourself. It's fine if the doubt is there, but it's not a signal to stop. It's a signal to keep going. It's a signal to find joy in this new world, to create it the way that you want to succeed and take care of your well-being this time, to succeed and take care of your relationships. Is it hard? Is it a demand? Is it sometimes unfair? Is it many times unappreciated? Yes, but you raised your hand and you said you wanted to earn more. You raised your hand and said you want to build. You raised your hand and said, I want to express something more full and true and exciting for myself at this stage. You're doing that in Beachbody. You're doing that here today. And I celebrate each and every one of you because showing up, you earned this. You earned this session. You earned this opportunity to be here. Now go earn your future for you and your family and build the next level. Beachbody, thank you for having me today. I'm Brendon Burchard. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks, everybody. Good night.